Hello, Joe.
Hi,
Hi.
Simon.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Great. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a nice break. We're very pleased to be able to welcome Joe Dale. Many of you will have heard of him. His reach is far and wide, and we look forward to the next hour. You may post questions up for this interaction, and then we'll have immediately afterwards we'll have Lucy from Cardiff, and then questions will be at 2:35. But you are free, of course, to put questions up during either of the following talks for the rest of the afternoon, in fact. Okay, thanks, Joe. Over to you then. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Simon, for that lovely introduction. So I will just share my screen quickly now, which is here. I've got my two screens going. So I've got the chat on one screen and I've got my presentation on the other screen. So it should be all good. I can even have the second chat in the Zoom going as well, just to make sure I'm seeing everything, everything that I need to see. Okay, so thank you ever so much for that introduction. So I'll give you a little bit of an introduction myself, if that's okay. So I used to be a languages teacher. I was a languages teacher for 13 years, teaching secondary school level for 3 years and then middle school level for 10 years on the Isle of Wight, which is where I am right now and have been for many, many months now. In the last 10 years, I've been an independent languages consultant. I normally go all around the world running training in places like Australia, North America, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, all over Europe. But of course, at the moment, I can't do that. So the title of the presentation, as you can see, is effectively utilizing technology to teach secondary MFL. And then I added in brackets during a pandemic, just to make it very, very up to date and relevant. You'll see my contact details on the screen there. I'm at Joe Dale on Twitter. I've now got 29,800 followers, which is a bit crazy. So only 200 to go to reach the next landmark. And my email address is joedale@talk21.com. If you want to email me about anything I'll be sharing today, feel free to do so. We've got a whole hour. I feel really lucky to have a whole hour with everybody. And it's lovely to see so many people in the room right now as well. This is the second time that I've spoken at the conference, but the first time doing it remotely. So it's amazing to be here. Thank you ever so much for Lauren for doing all the organizing and for Inside Government for inviting me to do this talk. Okay, let's carry on. So this is what I'm going to try and do in the next hour. As you can see, there's a lot of content there. Essentially, I'm going to be sharing the good practice of language teachers from around the UK and further afield. The MFL Twitterati, which I'm sure is a household name now for most people. If you've never heard of it before, just have a look for MFL Twitterati, which is MFL TWITTERATI on Twitter, and you will find a whole range of different ideas on a regular basis, on a daily basis. In fact, one of my top tips is to do a search for MFL Twitterati plus a keyword, for example, the name of a tool like Flipgrid or QWIQR Conversations, or maybe something like speaking or writing or what have you. And because there's 5,000 members of the MFL Twitterers list, which I manage, and the hashtag has been used by people from all over the world and has been for many years, then you'll get a wealth of resources, even if you do that for, say, 10 minutes while you're having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice. So I'm going to be feeding back about how the MFL Twitterati have coped with the pandemic, and now with the face-to-face teaching of making their classrooms as COVID safe as possible. So hopefully you'll find it interesting. We are recording this session right now. I've asked permission if I can publish it on my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch it for the next 30 days as well on the Inside Government site, which is fantastic. Okay, the Bitmoji character there, as you can see, it says, "Our voices have power." That was not me that wrote that. That was the Bitmoji character. And I think it's a great message to say at the moment, the way in which language teachers and organizations and consultants like myself are working together for the common good. Now, a few days ago, I wrote an article for Inside Government on their blog, which is a summary of what I'm talking about in this presentation. So feel free to have a look at that. You'll see that I put the links at the bottom of each of the slides, as I normally do. And as I normally do as well, I'm sharing the whole presentation on the last slide as a short URL and a QR code. So if you want to check that out, feel free to do so and give me any feedback. As I said, I'm monitoring the chat as well. So if you want to leave the chat in Swapcard, then you can do that as well. Okay. So this was a paragraph which really resonated with me, which I read back in March of this year, just after we went into lockdown. You can see it's from a head teacher in a British international school in Rome. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you now, but essentially what David Tong is saying here is maybe one of the silver linings of this whole horrendous situation is that those people who have always been reluctant on the use of educational technology maybe will have their horizons widened on the power of technology because of the fact that we were all forced to use technology during lockdown. And now maybe as a result of that, we'll be incorporating more and more ideas into the classroom if we're teaching face-to-face, or if we're having a hybrid approach whereby we're having to set work for children at home, either asynchronously, or maybe they're watching live in the lesson while we're teaching face-to-face. There are lots of different models which can be happening at the moment all over the world. So it's fascinating from that point of view. So question is this a silver lining? I think it is, but I appreciate that we all find ourselves in a very difficult situation. But that really resonated with me, which is why I have included it in one or two presentations. Likewise, in another presentation I saw recently, it was talking about the three sort of phases of the pandemic, which again really resonated with me as well. So the suggestion is that sort of March time, April time was the panic phase, which I'm sure we all felt, suddenly, literally with no notice at all, having to remote teach or emergency remote teaching, as it's been referred to as well. That was the panic stage. And then we went into, I think lots of us went into the research phase. And as I said already, the community have really, stepped up, I think, and shared lots and lots of ideas, which is one of the main threads that goes to the article that I just shared with you. So they've really pulled together, and existing communities such as the MFL Twitter RT, and then the Lang Chat community in the States as well. The fact that those communities have been around for many, many years, I think they really excelled or have excelled so far, and will carry on to excel, I'm sure, during the pandemic, and been, sharing advice, sharing resources. I was getting lots and lots of questions, particularly at the beginning, as everyone's best friend about technology. How do you do this? How do you do that, Joe? How do you use mini whiteboards in the classroom? How do you create an interactive whiteboard? How do you practice speaking asynchronously? All those different things. So in this presentation, I'm trying to address a lot of those questions which I was getting. And then hopefully now we're a bit more learned about what is available, what we can do, and we're more into a hybrid phase. And who knows where that's going to end, or who knows what the next phase is going to be. Things are changing literally on a daily basis. Okay. Right, so back in March, what I thought I would do, because obviously I have this skill set to help people in relation to technology, and particularly with language learning, although I can support whole schools as well in relation to remote teaching ideas or hybrid teaching ideas. But back in March, I was obviously seeing lots and lots of different tweets and articles on Facebook and what have you, links shared on Twitter. And so what I thought I would do is I would put together a Google Doc, which at the time was about 18 pages long, and it's now about 40 pages. I've sort of stopped updated it because it was more to do with sort of a remote teaching context, but there's a wealth of ideas there around what you can do. As you can see the little video thumbnail there. So things like, getting started. So like articles similar to the one I just mentioned that David Tong wrote, I've included that within that section. World language teachers share ideas on remote learning. So lots of teachers from this country as well as from the States were sharing webinars and what have you right from the word go. And you can see the rest: video conferencing tools, screencasting tools. So that was the sort of the starting point. And then the next thing that myself and my friend Helen Myers, who as myself as well as part of the Association for Language Learning, Helen is the chair of the London branch. We essentially had the same idea at the same time. Which was to put on a whole range of different webinars. Now, the Association for Language Learning, the London branch, have been putting on webinars for many, many years. But normally, they're sort of every few months or so. Whereas we decided, because of the need, that we would do sort of 2 or sometimes 3 a week. So in the Easter break, for example, we were doing 3 a week, including like a show and tell on the Saturday and that sort of thing. And it was very much, thought out and methodically put together. So we started off by looking at sort of different platforms, such as a Google environment or a Microsoft environment. We asked experts in their field who are also language teachers who are using these tools day in and day out. So we had people like Jane Bassnett. We had lots of people like Darren White, lots of different people who are absolutely brilliant in sort of, saying, okay, so if you're using OneNote or using Class Notebook, you can do this, this, and this. If you're using Google Docs or using Google Slides, you can do this, this, and this. And that seemed very important to start off with those basics. And then we had people talking about, screencasting tools or more creative ideas around escape rooms or going on virtual adventures or what have you. And it's not just been people from the UK. We've had people from Australia, quite a few people from the States, real the top people, as it were, in relation to educational technology and languages. So I sort of, if you like, harnessed my network. I was the chief scout, and I contacted lots and lots of people. And I would say the vast majority said yes. And the ones that didn't say yes, it's because, or they said yes a bit later on because they were just so busy, because like myself, they were being inundated by requests for information. So if you go to the ALL London website, you'll be able to see the whole list of different webinars. We've done over 50 now already since March. You can see it's been a huge amount of work. And Helen has put together this incredible database, which I'm going to give you a flavor of right now. So it's a Word document. And as you can see, what she's done is she's put lots of tags, descriptions, links to the videos. It's just absolutely incredible, all on this document. Okay, so don't forget, I'm sharing the whole presentation with you. You'll be able to watch that back in your own time, as well as the recording of this presentation. And then all the recordings I put on my YouTube channel, which you can see is the bottom link there. If you just search on YouTube for Joe Dale 100, then you'll find it. There we are. Okay, now back in March again, I came across a Facebook group known as Bitmoji Craze for Educators, which I checked this yesterday. It's now got over 500,000 members, which is completely mind-blowing. But if you're into, creativity and Bitmojis, then I would encourage you to check out that Facebook group, and particularly using the search option as well to be able to find the resources that you're looking for, because there's so many resources there that the search box is really, really handy for this. Now, one idea which I came across right in from when I first joined the group was that some people were using the iOS app iMovie, which works on iPads and iPhones, and they were using the movie trailer option. So you can either make like a standard movie by editing it in the standard way with the timeline, etc. But there's also the trailer option. So what they were doing is they were taking various Bitmojis, adding them into the template in the trailer option, and creating examples of videos which were good for example, giving a learning objective or giving feedback to the students. So I thought I would use this option to make a video promoting the TILT webinar. So TILT stands for Technology and Language Teaching. So I'm hoping this is going to work. If you can't hear the audio, please let me know, but it should work. Let's just try now. And there we are. And the way I was able to get everyone's Bitmoji was I put together a collaborative Google Slides presentation. I created an example. So I wanted to have like a headshot, which you saw when everyone had their sort of their class photo. I put all those headshots together, and then also like a full body shot with a Bitmoji. And that's how I put together the presentation. And within a couple of days, I had over 100 different Bitmojis, which was really cool, I thought. There we are. Let's carry on. Okay, so again, during the lockdown, I was doing lots of crowdsourcing, asking lots of questions of the MFL Twitterati, seeing how I could help in any way, spotting trends and spotting challenges. So as you can see in this particular slide, I asked a couple of questions. The first one is, as you've all been teaching remotely for a number of weeks now, what would you say are your do's and don'ts of online teaching? And then the next question, another question I've been pondering is how do you ensure interaction with your students when teaching either synchronously or asynchronously, e.g. playing games live or setting homework assignments or using the chat function in online tools? And lots of people sent their replies. I'll just give you a flavor of this. If I click on the link now, you should be able to, there we are. This is the actual document. So it's a couple of pages long and it just gives lots and lots of ideas. And I've credited everyone who helped me put this together. So you can see, for example, the first one, which I think is an incredibly important point, keep students organized using Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or Show My Homework, put all the activities and links in one hyperdoc or presentation and ask students to fill in their answers in text boxes or grid cells in the tables. In other words, keeping everything in the one place, making it as simple as possible for the students to access the content. So not saying, oh, go to this link, go to that link, go to this video, having everything in the one document, which you can then access all the links from that one place. So that was a really nice top tip. So yeah, the MFL Twitterati have been absolutely incredible during this whole time. Okay. Another example of how everyone has been sharing good practice is this fantastic Padlet. So Esmeralda Salgado, who is the head of languages at King Ely in Cambridgeshire, she is Botones Salgado on Twitter, and she's been absolutely incredible during the lockdown and onwards. If you haven't seen her blog, I would really encourage you to have a look at it. It's called mflcraft.blogspot.com. And I think this is brilliant. What she did, she put together this Padlet and then encouraged the community to post examples of how people were using technology in particular in relation to during the lockdown. I think a lot of the inspiration for these ideas as well came from the Tilt webinar. So for example, we've got lots of ideas around escape rooms using the free web tool called Genially, which is Genially. That's fantastic. Lots of ideas around Bitmojis, virtual adventures as well as some other suggestions of different IT tools. So again, if you're new to these sorts of ideas, I would really encourage you to check out this Padlet because it's absolutely fantastic. And then the next Padlet, which was put together by Danielle Warren, Danielle with two N's, Danielle Warren on Twitter, who has got a book out recently as well, which is 100 Outstanding Ideas for the MFL Classroom, if I remember correctly, which I've not read personally, but I know is highly recommended. And as you can see here, great idea, asking the MFL Twitterati to post COVID-safe ideas for the MFL Classroom, because obviously everyone's in the same boat, not just in the UK, but around the world. And it's fantastic to see lots of ideas being shared there. For example, on the top left, you've got one from the Ideal Teacher, who is Sabine in the MFL Twitterati, and she's written a blog post, 20 plus low prep COVID-friendly ideas for languages classroom. So everyone's pulled together. It's been absolutely lovely to see. So again, I'm giving you lots of homework here, if that's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to drill down into some examples of different tools that have proved popular, not only during lockdown, but prior to lockdown, and now in a hybrid context or in a face-to-face context, whatever your context is. So Jamboard is an interactive whiteboard type software, collaborative whiteboard. So for those people looking for replicating what they were doing traditionally in their classroom, a whiteboard is an obvious thing. So there is a Microsoft Whiteboard as well, which will allow you to do similar things. But Google Jamboard is amazing, and it's a core Google tool. So if you have Google Classroom, you can create an assignment with a Google Jamboard automatically made for everybody. But I think it really comes into its own when you use it as a collaborative resource. So what I did was I went through, as I normally do, I did lots of research around how to use these different tools that I come across. And so I did a search for Jamboard as a hashtag and saw lots and lots of ideas. And then I created three different Jamboards, which allow you to have up to 20 frames or 20 ideas per Jamboard. So I've essentially shared 60, I'm sharing 60 ideas with you on how to use Jamboard in the languages classroom. So just to give you a flavor, I'm going to click on the first link here, and you'll see that this is what it looks like. And as you can see in this example, what I'm suggesting that you do is you use Screencastify, which is a free screencasting tool. Again, lots of language teachers did screencasting for the first time, so recorded their screen while maybe giving a presentation so the children could hear their voice, particularly if schools were not allowed to do live teaching synchronously, but they were allowed to do screencasting. You could take a PowerPoint, add a voiceover, save it as a video, or use a tool like Screencastify or Loom or these sorts of tools, or just Zoom itself. You can record a session as I'm doing right now and then share the video. So that's also really nice, I think. So the idea is, as you can see, you've got the floating toolbar on the left-hand side. You can add sticky notes or images or circles or triangles or squares. You can add in text boxes. That was a recent update to the web version. So you could describe a grammar point, for example, in languages, or you could give a presentation, but move things around on the screen at the same time and record everything. And then with Screencastify, as with Loom, it saves automatically to somewhere on the web. So for example, with Screencastify, you can have it saving automatically to your Google Drive. To Loom, it'll be to your Loom account. It generates a link. You can then share that link in the chat or in a Google Doc comment, or through Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, whatever it is that you're using to share links. So that's a really nice idea. The next idea is, a very simple sort of starter activity. There's a free website called X Words Generator. So you put in different items to create a crossword horizontally and vertically. You generate the crossword as an image. You put it into Jamboard. And then you ask the students to use the pen tool to write in the letters to answer the clues, etc. So I can see that Sylvie's asked the question in the chat: is Jamboard only for Google? Yes, it is. So you would need to have a Google account to use Jamboard, but there is a Microsoft Whiteboard equivalent, and then there are some free web-based tools which work on anything. For example, there's one called Excalidraw, which is EXCALIDRAW. Excalidraw, but Google Jamboard is wonderful if you're in a Google environment. There is an app for Google Jamboard, and if you access a link on an iPad, you would need to have the app in order to do the activity. Great questions. Okay, this is like a drag and drop idea. If I just click here, get rid of that one quickly. If I just show you, if I click here, for example. So this is my Bitmoji Chrome extension. If I put in inside government like that, making sure I put small n. Okay, as you can see, what's happened is it's come up with the, make sure I can spell government correctly. It's come up with different Bitmojis with customized keywords. So if I just do Control X, Control V, let's do another one. There we are. So I can now drag and drop that straight into my Jamboard. Like this, can you see? So it's really nice as a way of making an activity. And then to make this sort of drag and drop animated GIF, what you can have to do is you just, again, if you go to Bitmoji here and you do a search for pose, put in the word pose, like this, what happens is you get all these different Bitmojis coming up without any text. So for example, if I right click this one and click Save Image As, like that, and click Save, and then I'd find the one where he's not moving and click Save Image As. So I've got my two Bitmojis, and then if I were to go to a website, gifmaker.me, just move that out of the way. There we are, gifmaker.me, like that, and you click Upload Images. You find the two images that you want. So I'm going to choose this one and that one. As you can see, I've done this once or twice before. Click Open. That should have worked. Let's have a look. We're only seeing the one so far. Let me just upload the other one. There we are. Perfect. Can you see? It's now making the GIF. I then click Create GIF Animation. I click Download the GIF. Click Save. There it is. I go back to Jamboard, which I have got open here, and then I can just literally drag and drop this onto the page. Let's do that again. Oh, sorry, that's a classic mistake. What you have to do is you have to click the image option here, add image, then you drag and drop it. There we are. That's the beauty of doing things live. And there we are. Can you see? So that's how you do that. So if you wanted to have an animated GIF within your Jamboard, it supports animated GIFs, and that's really cool. Okay, so there we are. Those are a few ideas, but there are lots of other ideas that I'm sharing with you. Yeah, you're going to get the whole presentation. You'll be able to access all of these in your own time. Let's carry on. In relation to the app, so Sylvie asked me about the app. In relation to the app, there are a couple of features which are only in the app as opposed to the web-based version. So, for example, you've got assistive tools. So the bottom there, where it's got the capital A and the small a, what that allows you to do is you can write on your iPad with your finger or with a stylus, and it will turn your annotation into digital text. So if you write the word hello, for example, it will turn it into digitized text, which you can then move around the screen, which is very nice. It only works in English and Japanese, though, unfortunately, not in other languages. On the right-hand side, this has been a bit superseded now because now you can draw like a circle and it will turn it into a perfect circle, or a square, and it will turn it into a perfect square. And the next one is called auto draw. So it means if you try to draw a picture of a cat, for example, then it will give you the option of turning that annotation into a perfectly formed piece of professional looking clip art. So again, if you have like people that find drawing difficult on an iPad or on an Android phone using the app, then auto draw will be your friend. And you've got a few other options, for example, being able to insert content from Google Drive straight into Jamboard from the app as well. Okay, and the fantastic news recently that's happened is that Jamboard is now included within Google Meet. So if you haven't seen Google Meet, that's the sort of Google equivalent of Zoom or Microsoft Teams. And so I was very excited the other day when I saw that it appeared in my dashboard in the option menu. So what happens is you have the open a jam, as it's called. You click on that, it opens up the jam, and it automatically puts the link of that Jamboard into the Google Meet chat, which means anybody can then collaborate on the same Jamboard. And you can change the permission so it's view only, or that everyone has editor rights as well. So that's really, really nice. And there's a few clips here and screenshots of showing how that works. Okay, another popular tool during lockdown was Whiteboard.fi. I see this being mentioned all the time on Twitter as well as on different Facebook groups. So if you haven't seen it before, it essentially allows you to replicate whiteboards, mini whiteboards in your classroom in a remote setting. So I'm not going to do this live because I've got lots to talk about, but essentially what you would do is you would go to whiteboard.fi, you would click on new class, it generates a link, you give the link to the students, they then put in the code or click on the link. Everyone then gets their own little whiteboard, mini whiteboard. The teacher then gives instructions using the microphone in the video conferencing tool that you're using. It has to be done live because the board is only available for a couple of hours. It can't be done asynchronously. It's designed to be used live, and all the annotations that the children do on their mini whiteboards, it will all go automatically to like the combined screen, and the teacher can click on individual whiteboards and can give individual feedback. And if you're using a screencasting tool, as I've demonstrated in a couple of webinars on my YouTube channel, you could use a tool like Screencastify, whereby you're annotating while they're annotating and everything's being recorded, which is really cool. Yeah, so the question is, can you use Jamboard in a live class? Yes, you can. In fact, I saw an example of that recently. There's a lovely lady whose name is Mrs. Leslie up in Scotland. I forget Mylène, that's right, Mylène Leslie, and she's a big fan of Jamboard. She's Leslie Mylène on Twitter, and she tweeted a picture of her in the face-to-face classroom with the Jamboard on the screen and all the children being at their seats, a bit like with Whiteboard.fi. So if you're not allowed to move around your classroom for social distancing reasons, then you can do these sorts of activities whereby you are getting the children to write on whiteboards on their screens, if they're allowed to have those, if they're allowed to use their own devices. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend that you have a class set that everyone uses from a health and safety point of view. Okay. Cool. Keep the questions coming. Here's some feedback from the community talking about Whiteboard.fi. So you can see that Bev Braz there has written, I love Whiteboard.fi for the interaction in live lessons, being able to do lots of sentence builder activities. It's worked really well. And what have you? Florence Lyons, who's from New Zealand. She's from France originally, but she's been working in New Zealand for quite a few years. She did a Tilt webinar for us as well on feedback, which I'd really recommend having a look at. So she said, as you can see, today I used Whiteboard.fi with my students for the first time. They loved it. It's very responsive and allowed me to give feedback. Use it with Microsoft Teams. There we are. And then Zganzorn, thank you very much. I will think about ways I can use it in my class. Thank you again for Whiteboard.fi. It is the highlight of my lockdown. I think my year 10 will be forever grateful to you for it, which is just lovely. So yeah, again, I just felt I needed to step up and help people, as everyone else has been doing. But I think because this is my particular passion and niche, as it were, I had a lot to give. So I won't read all of them out, but it just gives you a flavor of how well received it is as a tool. Okay, so as I was saying, screencasting has proved very popular. I wrote an article for the Modern Languages Teachers Lounge Facebook group, which is organized by Linguiscope, giving some suggestions on how it can be used in languages. The tools, the logos there for the different tools I've mentioned are Loom, that's Loom, Screencastify, and Screencast-O-Matic. Those are probably the three most popular ways of doing a screencast. And then you've got an article there from the TS from QWIQR who's saying, 4 reasons pre-recorded lessons are your best option. Now, I don't wholly agree with this. I think the idea of a live, meet up at the beginning to see how everyone is and have a check-in, and then a live, say, plenary at the end with some sort of interactive activities such as Quizlet Live or quizzes is also really good. But I recognize that you don't need to be sort of there teaching live throughout the whole lesson. You could be giving the children tasks and being available for help, but you don't need to be there all the time, as it were, because otherwise it will be very demanding on you if you're doing like basically your normal timetable, but just doing it live. And in the current situation, the people who are remote teaching while, face-to-face teaching while a camera is on the classroom, so children are sort of zooming in at the same time, must be very, very tiring, I'd have thought. So those are just a few ideas around screencasting. Here's a couple of people from the community sharing ideas. So you've got Mazigan, for example, using Loom to walk students through a sample answer, saves time in class, promotes autonomous learning, and sense making, and allows for a flipped classroom. What I particularly love about this is the way that Loom themselves have come back and said, love this, so glad we can be useful for your class. Ms. Grice is saying, use Loom for the first time yesterday. Thanks for the tip, Joe. And was surprised how easy it was to use. Definitely recommend it for anyone teaching from home. Rachel then is saying, how does this compare to Screencast-O-Matic? I've been using that one so far. Can't compare because I've only used Loom, but it's so simple. The kids really like using it. So what I love about this is it's a typical example of a conversation that is happening around a particular web tool or a particular idea, pedagogical idea, and people are helping each other, which is what this is all about. It's just absolutely fantastic. And thank you for the lovely comment in the chat as well, Helen. Really appreciate it. Okay, Flipgrid. Flipgrid has proved really, really popular. Let me know in the chat if you're a fan of Flipgrid as well. Jane Bassnett has also been a huge stalwart during lockdown, as she was before, but incredibly helpful with all her expertise around technology. She's done a master's in technology at the University of Nottingham, and she's now in charge of the digital strategy at her school, as well as being head of languages. So she teaches at Downhouse School in the south of England. And in this example, if you haven't heard of Flipgrid before, Flipgrid is like a video tool, which is amazing for asynchronous speaking practice. You create a grid, or a group as it's now referred to. So a group is like a class, if you like. In that group, you can have lots of different videos, which can be moderated so that the children only get to see their own video and the teacher gets to see it, or you can have it so everyone sees everyone else's video. You can give private video feedback. You can allow the children to leave comments on each other's video. And in this example that Jane is showing, she is using Flipgrid as a way of creating what's called a Flipgrid short, which is a standalone video not associated with a group or a topic, as it's referred to. So in this example, she's got a little image there, which looks like it could have been taken from a PowerPoint. She's using the pen tool to annotate over the top. I think she's talking about the simple future there. So you've got the image, the annotation, the face. So that would be an example of the multimodal learning or dual coding, which I know is very flavour of the month at the moment. And the idea behind it is that children are learning in different ways. So you've got the listening channel, and you've got the eyes channel, or whatever the right word is, the visioning channel, to be able to see different ways in which Jane is presenting the content and learning in different ways, which is not the same as learning styles. I need to say before anyone says Joe's recommending learning styles. So I know there's lots of people that think that's absolute bunkum, me included. On the right-hand side, you've got Jane also doing an example of how to form the perfect tense using être as the auxiliary verb. So she's taken a PowerPoint screenshot, she's annotating over the top with her voice, and it's all being combined together into a lovely little video, which the children can access remotely in a flipped learning model. On the left-hand side there, you've got Sam Carey, so that's SAM space KARY, and he has a YouTube channel called The New EdTech Classroom, and he's done a few videos on Flipgrid. This one is amazing, how to teach remotely with Flipgrid, as well as one on giving assignments as well, which is new because in August, Flipgrid had a great new update, and Sam has done a video about that, and yeah, lots of new things to do. On the right-hand side there, bottom right, you've got Jess from Flipgrid just saying some of the ways in which you can use Flipgrid in the languages classroom. Okay, so on this slide, you've got a lovely screenshot there from a school in the Middle East, as you can see, saying some really lovely videos from Year 9 this morning on Flipgrid. Even got a subjunctive, such communicative confidence. We may not be face-to-face, but Zoom, Flipgrid, and Google Hangouts are our next best things, which I just think is fantastic. On the bottom left there, you've got screen recording. So that's been a relatively new feature. Apparently, it's coming to the app version at some point in the future. It's on their roadmap. But at the moment, in the web browser version, you can screen record. And one example I've been showing recently in webinars is if you had, let's say, something like Google Earth open, you could, instead of just doing a search for a particular place in Google Earth, which obviously you could do, there's the little dice option, or die as I should say, as it's singular, which is referred to as I'm feeling lucky. So if you click on the I'm feeling lucky option, it will then zoom in to a part of the Earth, but it will zoom just above it, as I'm sure we've all seen Google Earth, how it works before. So then in the target language, you could say, okay, so what can you see? So the children, you could expect the children to say things like, I can see rivers, I can see a mountain, I can see a town, I can see a bridge, whatever it might be. And then if Google Street View is available, you can drag and drop little yellow pegman, as it's referred to, from the right-hand side onto the pin, where the pin is, and then you'll then go into Street View. And again, you can then say, okay, where are we? Are we in a town? Are we in a village? Can we see anyone? What have they done? What are they going to do? What are they thinking? How are they feeling? So a little bit like a dynamic photo card, GCSE photo card practice idea. And yeah, so screen recording is amazing, but that's just a suggestion. If you go onto my YouTube channel, you'll see that I've done a few demonstrations of doing this live, but I'm not going to do it right now because I've got far too many things I want to show you. And then you've also got the Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge Chrome extensions as well, which allows you to record your Flipgrid video straight from the browser as of a few months ago. Okay, another thing which I wanted to showcase today is Google using Google Forms. I know all the Microsoft fans out there will say, yes, there's Microsoft Forms as well, which is true. And lots of the ideas I'm going to share with you right now can also be done on Microsoft as well. But I was really inspired by a teacher who's Chris Betcher from Australia. I was lucky enough to stay with him a few years ago. You know, those days when we were allowed to travel and all that. So Chris Betcher is Betcher Boy on Twitter. He's a Google certified trainer. And he came up with the idea of creating a Google form showcasing lots of different question types, which I thought, oh, that's a really good idea. So what I thought I would do is take the idea and just replicate it, but aim all the question types at language teachers, which is what I did. So if I click on this link right now, we'll be able to see it live. So I would always recommend the first question that you have is, what is your surname and what is your first name? That means that when you export the Google form as a Google Sheet, you can then order it from A to Z, so it then matches your mark book. So there's instructions here on how to turn a form into a quiz. If you go onto YouTube as well and just do a search for how to make a Google quiz, it's very, very simple and straightforward. So just to give you a flavor of this, what I've done is I've put the exercise type, as Chris did, at the beginning of each one, and I've also included step-by-step instructions on how to do this. So for example, if you had a question such as, what is the past participle of the verb aller in French? Then you simply click on the correct radio button. And as long as you set it up as a quiz and you've said what the correct answer is, it will mark it for you automatically. I'm just going to, I can see that I haven't zoomed down on the chat yet. Okay, so we've got a question around if Loom or Screencastify offer any advantages to using Google Meet. To be honest with you, I would just check check them both out and then compare them. One of the things I like about Screencastify is in the free version, you have the pen tool, so you can then annotate directly on the screen using that. You can only record for 5 minutes though. With Loom, you don't get the pen tool in the free version, but as an educator, you can upgrade to the pro version, which takes a few days, but then you have the pen tool built in. Okay, so let's carry on. This one is another multiple choice, but I'm using images here, which I've taken from a website called Unsplash, which is UNSPLASH. There's other websites such as Pixels, PEXELS, other places to find good images. If you're looking for icons, there's one called flaticons.com as well. So for finding royalty-free images you're legally allowed to use, those are great places. And there are others which I've not mentioned, I'm sure. So yeah, again, here I would just choose the same orientation, e.g. all landscape, and then again, you just click on the correct radio button like that. This one I've used a tool called a snipping tool, which is a Windows tool which allows you to take an extract of anything that's on your screen, which could be a PDF or a web page or what have you. Take that extract, put it straight into your Google form. There's also a Google form add-on called Snip, which works in a similar way, and then turn it into a multiple choice exercise like this. This one is combining more images. You've got the image here. How is this person feeling? And then you've got the smiley face and unhappy face as your possible responses. So again, you click on the correct radio button. True or false activity using multiple choice again, you just click on the correct one. This one's very cool. So here you've got multiple choice again, but you've got 4 different possible answers, and I've incorporated audio. I'll just give you a flavor of how this works. I can hear my voice is going, but never mind. If I go to here and I go to online voice recorder, there's different ways of doing this, but I find this is a particularly nice way of doing it. Online voice recorder, I record some audio. Okay, so this is an example of being able to use a tool which is free, which is online, called Online Voice Recorder, which allows you to record audio, edit it at the beginning and the end, and export as MP3. So it allows you to add audio within your Google form. Okay, there it is. I can now drag that at the beginning and this at the end, and I can now click save, and I can now save this as an MP3. Now, I'm not going to do this live, because what I would do is I would then take that MP3 and I would put it up into my Google Drive, but I don't want to show everyone my Google Drive for obvious reasons right now. But when you do that, what you do is you right-click the file and you change the editing rights to what's called a get shareable link, or get the link which is shareable. If you just do a search for get shareable link on Google Drive, it will come up. And that's how that works. And then as a result of that, in your Google form, you then just paste that link into the radio buttons option, which is simpler to do. And that means the children can then listen to the question. As you can see here, it says, what is the correct pronunciation of answer 1? You click on the link, it takes you to Google Drive. And as long as you've got the permissions right for your domain, people will be able to hear it. So if I click play now.
Answer 1.
Okay, so that's
answer.
So that's the question I'm asking. And obviously that means that this is the right answer. But so for pronunciation practice, for that sort of thing, this would be great. You then got not multiple choice, but multiple choice grid. So as you can see here, you've got a table. So you put in the different items going down the left-hand side or going along the top. I would recommend through experience that the ones along the top need to be the shorter items, be it so letters or numbers, and then down the left-hand side, the longer items. So this is just a simple matching activity. But because I've enabled shuffle word order, or row order, I mean, it means that they'll shuffle each time. It won't always be the same answer. This one is changing the getting the right word order in a sentence. So again, you just click on the right one to make sure they're in the right sentence, and then just repeat the same activity. You can duplicate each activity and then just change the elements. That's straightforward. This one is putting a dialogue back into the right order. So again, you can see here, I've got the numbers along the top because they're shorter compared to the longer short phrases. And as long as there's only one right answer, then that's fine. You're good to go. This one is a drop-down one. This is if you've got lots of possible answers. As you can see, the only actual correct answer is être, but you've got lots of answers here. And so instead of having a great long list of multiple choice, I've gone for the drop-down option, which makes it neater, I think. This one is checkboxes. So this is when you've got more than one right answer. So here, which of these verbs is regular in French? So obviously you click the two which are correct, and then the other two which are not correct, you leave blank. So that's if you've got more than one possible answer. This one is similar to the one I've shown you. So you've got the listening in the actual questions. You listen to the audio. This one is a checkbox one. So you tick the boxes which are correct, and the ones which are not correct, you leave blank. So again, useful, I think, in languages. This one is a sort of classic grammar exercise. So you've got the infinitive in brackets. They have to conjugate the correct form of the verb and put it here, where it's a short answer. This one, embed a YouTube clip and do a listening comprehension around that. And the only thing with that is it has to be a certain correct answer. You can't have, alternative. Well, you could have alternatives, but you can't have more than, say, an individual word or short phrase, because it has to be exactly what you say is the correct answer for it to be marked correctly. This one is a text box grid. So again, there's you put in the different answers according to the ones that come up here. So this is obviously sports activities with either jouer or faire in French. This one's very cool. So you got Vocaro. So if I go to Vocaro like this, Vocaro.com, I could record some audio. Vocaro is a great way of practicing speaking in an asynchronous situation, or synchronous as well if you wanted to, but asynchronous is particularly nice in conjunction with the Google form. Okay, you click Save and Share. You click Copy Link. You then go back to the Google form and you paste in the link like that. So in other words, when you generate the Google Sheet, all the speaking practice links will all be there. They expire after, I think, 3 months, but you can always download them and keep them permanently if you want to. So a nice way of doing asynchronous speaking practice. And then the last one is a linear scale. So you put in a statement, online learning is a good idea, and then you go from, say, strongly agree to strongly disagree, and they simply click on the correct radio button, and there we are. Right, I can see we've got a question around GDPR, so I'm sure we use GDPR. Yeah, okay, yeah, GDPR is a massive question. Obviously, all the tools I'm mentioning, you need to go to the terms and conditions, the privacy terms, and check. That obviously all the ones I'm showing, like Google, for example, it's all GDPR compliant. Look on Twitter as well, put the name of the tool and GDPR and see what comes up. But I wouldn't recommend anything that was not GDPR compliant for obvious reasons. Yeah, so there's an amazing person called Gloria Enrique on Twitter who is Miss Enrique. I can't remember her exact handle. I think it's Miss G Enrique on Twitter, and she has done a video describing how to do audio in a Microsoft form. So I would check her out as well. Obviously, I can't answer every single question, but feel free to contact me after this for more information. Okay. Right, let's carry on. Loads of time, 15 minutes, right. So I shared that Google form example on many different places on social media, in Facebook groups and what have you, or on Twitter. And this Spanish teacher took the idea, was inspired by the idea, and put together her own example, which she gave me permission to share. So as you can see, she's got a sentence builder as an image. She's got the multiple choice image idea. She's got narrow reading ideas as well. And yeah, and it's all self-marked. It's all great to use in this sort of context, and everything is saved within your Google Drive, which is great, or your Google Classroom. Okay, Wheel of Names. If you've not seen this before, this is also awesome. So you essentially, it's like a name picker. If I just show you an example, if I click on this now and click play, we'll see which is the Wheel of Names' favorite Beatle. Here we go. There we are, and obviously, okay, obviously it's Ringo. I see we have a question. Do you know if Microsoft has the multiple choice grid? I don't know. You'll have to Google it or ask me later, and I'll ask Jane Bassnett, who's an expert in this area. Okay, it would be lovely to know everything about everything, but unfortunately, there's quite a lot of stuff out there. But I would just ask. If I don't know the answer to something, I always just ask people who I know that know more than I do. On the right-hand side, sorry, on the left-hand side there, to the right of the Wheel of Names name picker, I've used a Chrome extension called Emoji Keyboard, which allows you to add images into your Wheel of Names. And yeah, so again, you can have, say, 3 different images and then ask the children to come up with a sentence based on those 3 different images. To the right of that, I've used a website called autodraw.com. which allows you to draw a picture, as I was mentioning earlier with Jamboard. You can draw a picture of a cat's face, for example, and it will turn into a perfectly looking picture of a cat, a piece of clip art. You then take those images and you add them into Wheel of Names, and then I've got the Bitmoji characters there as well on the last one. So again, if you watch other webinars that I've done, I'll go through step by step on how to do this, but I just want to give you a flavor of the things which are out there, as it were. Okay, you've got a Chrome extension called Tab Resize, so you could have multiple Wheel of Names going at the same time. If you have, say, a sentence builder, and you can set them all up so that when you spin the wheels, it then will make a very long sentence, which will allow you to take the items from a sentence builder and put them into Wheel of Names, which is another idea which we shared on the MFL Twitterati recently. This is Karine and Jane as well, talking about Wheel of Names. So you can see that Karine, in this example, is saying how she's using it for verbs, tenses, making sentences, etc. And then Jane, who wrote this back in April, is saying how she's getting the hang of using Wheel of Names. So again, you've got some examples there. So not only is that good for being inspired by their examples, you can get in contact with them and ask them more details about exactly what they've done to put that together. Okay. Yes, there's also classtools.net as well. There's also one called Wheel.fi, but I personally prefer Wheel of Names. This one has gone down really well. It's called Flippity. There's lots of Flippity activities out there, but this one is Flippity Randomiser. I'll just show you this one live. So again, I've taken the same items from a sentence builder. I simply click here. They all start to spin. One of them then comes up, and then you could then, if you're doing this remotely, you could have a translation race whereby the children have to translate it the quickest as possible, and it will then all come up. Don't know why that message has come up. Never mind. Let's get rid of that. And yeah, that's how that works. And another little idea is there's a little Chrome extension called Helper Bird, which I've got installed. If I right click that and click Helper Bird, it should recognize the language automatically. It's a Microsoft tool which works on the web as well. Let's see if this works. If I press play.
Je voudrais faire de la cuisine à la maison, mais quand il fait beau.
So as you can see, it's pretty good pronunciation. You can click here. You can change the voice from male to female. You can make it slower, although she sounds a bit drunk when you do that. Let's just have a listen.
Je voudrais faire de la cuisine à la maison, mais quand il fait beau.
And then you would then carry on. So you can, as you can see, you've got the conjunction there at the end. You would then carry on and spin the wheel again. But Immersive Reader is really nice and available via the Helper Bird extension. Let's go back to my presentation. Okay, don't forget this is being recorded so you can watch it back. So that's the example of the Google Sheet which I use, which is the inspiration of Vincent Everett, who I saw giving a similar presentation using Wheel of Names. And I then said to him about Flippity Randomiser, and he's gone a bit flippity crazy ever since. This is Mike Elliott, MFL, Head of Languages in a school in the south of England. I haven't got lots of time now, but if I just give you a quick flavor of this, he's using screen recording on Flipgrid in conjunction with Flippity. So I just quickly take you to here. There we are. Press play.
Hi. So this is an idea of how to use a Flippity Randomiser within Flipgrid in order to offer students the opportunity to practice pronunciation and simultaneous or spontaneous translation, hopefully in quite an easy and engaging way. So I've created a topic on a Flipgrid that I have for my Year 7 class. I have included some instructions. Okay, so click on this randomizer link. So that's a Flippity randomizer that's been created already. I've asked students to open it in another window. I've already got it open here. Okay, so it's already ready to go. I've then asked students to record their video, but instead of recording their face, I want them to record their screen, which you can do. And then within that, they need to select the randomizer screen. That's the one to record. And then I've set the video for 3 minutes. And what I want them to do in that 3 minutes is to read out whichever randomly generated sentences they have, read them out in French, and then to translate them immediately into English, and to do as many of them as they can in 3 minutes. So I'm going to show you how you would do that. So I'm logged on as a student now. If you click on here to record a response, it's going to give me some options here as to what we can record. So I don't want to record my face. I want to record my screen. Okay, so I'm going to capture my screen. I'm going to click on that. I'm then going to choose an application window. So I'm going to click on that. So this is now, so now I'm going to flip to that and start doing it. Okay, so mon frère est assez généreux. My brother is quite generous. Ma mère peut être vraiment travailleuse. My mother can be really hardworking. Ma tante est vraiment amusante. My aunt is really funny.
Okay, so hopefully that's giving you an idea of how Mike is using Flipgrid in conjunction with Randomiser, Flippity Randomiser. I think that's fantastic. Here's another idea. This is called Flippity Manipulatives. You can listen to the audio. It's made with Vocaroo. All the instructions are on the website, and then you can then drag and drop the tiles into the correct order. So nice for listening comprehension asynchronously. Here's some examples of teachers who are having a look at Flippity and how it can be used in relation to randomizer and sentence builder, as well as other ideas. On the left-hand side, that's Alice Smith School in Malaysia, and you can see there's actually a little perspex barrier between the children, which is a bit, new normal classroom, isn't it? There we are. So a few more ideas there. This is from the lovely Mrs. Bellacat, sharing lots of ideas on how you can use Flippity in your classroom Flippity randomizer. So again, great example of good practice. This is QWIQR Conversations. You've got a little tutorial here. This is also brilliant for asynchronous speaking practice. So you, as a teacher, you create an account, you go to QWIQR Conversations, you share the link with everybody, and then they can then record their audio, and it all appears in one thread, which you can moderate, and you can also lock the conversation. So if you watch the video, because I'm sort of running out of time now, I haven't got time to show this to you live, but I would recommend checking it out and doing a search on Twitter for QWIQR Conversations. Here's a Facebook group post, again on the Linguoscope 1, which is now private. It was public when I posted this. It's now private, so I've also made it available as a Google Doc link. Lots of ideas, many years of research has gone into that, and it took me a couple of days to write it. So there we are. I'm just going to show you a quick video, if that's okay, just to give you a flavour of the MFL Twitterati's feelings about lockdown and how it changed their pedagogy. Let's have a quick look at this. Okay, because I'm running out of time, I just thought I'd finish off with this. So as you can see, I think there has been a pedagogical paradigm shift. I made this dancing Bitmoji. Again, if you watched another video that I've done on my YouTube channel, you can find out how I did that. Just a little thought, if you do need any help around remote teaching or hybrid teaching, or whatever we call the teaching nowadays in our classrooms, then get in touch. Here are 18 example sessions I can help you with. You've got the QR code there, and would be delighted to hear from you. And here's the presentation, which I will put in the chat for you as well. Feel free to share it on Twitter. So it's is.gd/IG Joe Dale. And again, thank you so much to Inside Government for this opportunity. I hope you found that useful. I can see there's a few questions there that I've missed, but I'll have to just do that later on Twitter, or you can send me an email. And thank you to Simon as well for introducing me. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you very much, Joe. So much there. Gosh, a lot to take in. Fortunately, we'll be able to look through more leisurely at your slides and your presentation later. Thank you very much indeed for that very full, packed presentation.